You can never tell with the Cardinals. It's just always a crapshoot,
Yeah,
which
unfortunately.
makes sports, so wonderful. There's been a lot of sport. I mean, there's a lot of sports news lately. I mean, we could do a whole segment on just Mel Kiper's terrible ability to evaluate quarterbacks throughout
Yeah,
the years, and
that's
then why he's given so much credit for evaluating quarterbacks or just players in general when he's so crappy at it, and then everybody takes him at his word, and it's like, why didn't this happen? Well, he's awful.
yes. Again, that's the thing. Like the
He's
amount of players that he has sworn, if you pass on this guy, you're gonna lose your job and all of this. Like he's like it's like he only wants us to remember the good takes he's had. And it's like, I know you for being wrong. That's what I know
right.
you for.
Yeah, like you stunted, I think, for Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning. Like
Yes.
I just
Yeah.
was like, why don't we just like to the point where they had to like talk him, like that Reese Davis had to like talk him off the like ledge. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, he's been picked now, so let's go on from here. Like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
okay, like
It was
let it
weird.
go, bro.
It was weird. Like I thought I was surprised he dropped that far, but I also like I didn't think he was a generational talent. I think he'll be a fine quarterback. Honestly, I was more upset about Lamar dropping as far as he did years ago.
Sure. Like, I mean, that's the other thing that I think people tend to forget is Lamar Jackson he was the last quarterback picked
Mhm.
in that year. Tom Brady was the sixth round. I mean,
Yes.
like, dude, let's calm down, people. Like, he is not the first quarterback to drop, nor and people were like, well, like he you can't compare him right now where he's at, having not won a Heisman. They did not have winning seasons. They were like 1-14, I believe, against the top
They
25
didn't have a
teams.
winning season. They had a winning
Oh, there
season.
was like nine and
I think they only lost 4 or 5 games this
nine
last
or
year. It was a really
nine
good
and five.
season,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it also you dig into the numbers or to the competition. Like they had a good season, but I think they lost to every ranked team except for one.
Yeah, I think they were 1-14 over the 2 years against 20,
Yeah,
20. And you're just like, oh, I mean, he's not the next coming of Chris. I mean, like he might be he might turn this into a positive and become the greatest quarterback we've ever seen.
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna get all up in my butt over a kid who's not proven yet. Like,
yeah.
they were like, well, Johnny Manziel was on coke and still got drafted, and I'm like, okay, but Johnny Manziel went on a 3-day bender and still beat the tar out of,
Well, yeah,
was it Alabama at the time?
yeah. Or that's
Like,
when
it
he started his bender that night, something like that. But like, yeah, he was.
was coming off a 3-day bender.
Yeah, there's just, and the thing I've decided, I love the NFL draft. I really do, but I've learned over the years to not pay too much attention to the grades they give or the players drafted. Because
No.
obviously, there are guys that when they get picked high or just when they get picked in general, sometimes you just know. Like when Justin Jefferson got drafted, I was like, yeah, like
Sure.
that's a guy. But I mean, you look there's so many videos you can find on TikTok or people pull up old tweets of players that we've said this guy. I mean, I look at Mahomes, the devil himself, and his draft evaluation was like he will probably be a career backup. Like I remember the tweets, and
Right.
so nobody knows what they're talking about. So
Mm-mm.
even when they give my team an A plus or a B or an F for the draft, or I get excited over XYZ player, I also have just come to understand that like this is just me telling myself everything's gonna be okay because we don't know. We have no idea.
The only thing that's like I mean, of course you had, I think it was Jamarcus Russell, maybe. I think that was, but I mean, like, the only things that have really ever been proven for the draft have been Alabama and LSU players. And now
Yes.
with NIL, that's all shifted, and everybody's going to have to figure out a new way to
Yeah.
look at all these guys because I mean those used to be like just your givens,
Yeah.
like and huge linemen from Nebraska. Like
Right.
like okay, but well now with like I said, with NIL money,
Yeah.
it's we're gonna
Players
have
are
to look
going
at this
all over.
right. You're gonna have to look at this different. You're gonna have to look at because they might not all play for top 25 team, top 25 teams or even teams that have a whole bunch of money might not. I mean, look at Texas. Texas didn't do great and they got all the money in the world they
Yeah.
were paying their players.
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna everything's gonna have to again, I don't have a problem with NIL money. Like
Oh, I think
get
the players
yours.
deserve it and it helps spread the wealth. So I'm all for it.
And the transfer portal doesn't bother me because you know what? People never pitched a fit when coaches would dip out,
Yep.
even though they had just signed a contract and they found a better one. Uh, don't have, they're just gonna have to find a new way to evaluate these guys based on perform like their actual skill instead of did they win the Heisman? Did they how many top 25 teams top 25 teams they play and win again? That's all it's all got to change. I
Yep.
mean, and it's but I mean it was something though, wasn't it? To tune
Yeah.
in just to see.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I always enjoy the draft for the storylines and clips that come out of it. Like
Sure.
I take all the evaluations and draft picks with a grain of salt because again, we don't know, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to
well,
pretend like it is not one of the most fun nights of television.
right. Like it's no. No, you spend 3 hours watching what they say. If I wanted to watch 32 picks in 3 hours, I'd watch Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible. So yeah, you had that, and then I mean, like we can. The thing that's entertaining me right now on social media is obviously the 100 people against the gorilla.
I think we
So
could do it. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think we could do it.
I love all the ones that are like that show. There was like that clip somebody posted from this last King Kong where he picks up the one he picks up the little ape and
Yeah.
swings him around and is beating to them. They were like,
Yes. Yeah, so
I'm
you have to
telling.
have 10 or 20 brave 10 to 15 brave souls that just know they're going to be obliterated.
They said 90 of them should be just, like guys with a lot of motivation and passion, but 10 just cracked out,
Yes.
like that are willing to, they don't know what's going on, just
Yep.
willing to. If you don't know what we're talking about, you got to get on Twitter. I guess it's on, you said it was on
Yeah,
TikTok
it's
too.
all over TikTok. People are
Yeah.
making videos explaining how it could be done, why it can't be done. People are
It
acting it out. It's great.
it can't be done because it literally when the first 5 to 10 guys get their arms ripped off and their torsos ripped in half, I think everybody else's motivation is going to pretty much die right then.
That was
That's
one guy on TikTok. He's like, the reason why it's not success won't be successful is because we're not robots. He's like, because I promise you, it does not matter how motivated you are. The first three, four guys that get torn in half, I promise you, your entire plan changes. He's like,
yeah,
if we were robots,
yes.
he's like, you know what? Let's see what happens. But he's like, I'm telling you, like that. He's like, that is the reason. It's not a strength thing. It's not a strategy thing.
No.
He said the minute those first two, three guys are torn to shreds, that like that's the end.
That's it is. If I'm seeing another human being being thrown against the wall and his head cracked like
It's
a
yeah.
walnut. I'm not sticking around
Yep.
like no. So yeah, those are some great things. And then I mean obviously then I just saw the Duran thing on was it he's the Red Sox player who hit Durant who came out and said that he hit, and this I think it's a Netflix documentary
Hmm.
where he admitted to having suicidal thoughts and that he was pretty close to killing himself and then the fan who told him that he should have finished the job and he got into that. Like I said, I my comment about the fan was just throw him off the planet.
Yeah.
I don't care what level. Now, I mean, I know there's people out there that are trying to like figure out who this guy is. One, I don't care if you figure out who this guy is. but it's the whole like, let's get him fired. I know I just said let's throw him off the planet, but I mean like that's I mean obviously I can't do that, but he is the kind of person where you're just like just yeet him off the planet. But I don't know if you're gonna I don't we got to
He's the
stop
first
trying to
one
get
we send in to fight the gorilla.
yeah, I just don't I just this whole thing about getting people fired just doesn't like I mean now if they do something, and don't get me wrong, if they do something horrendously wrong, I'm 100%
Yeah.
like, especially if it's against the law, 100% for it. But I just, it's one of those things where by no means have I ever screamed that at a player, nor would I. But I just think that we all need to like slow down and like take a look at maybe what we've said online or to other people or screaming while we're in traffic to some
Okay,
cars
I'll give you that
and
one.
decide whether or not you would want to be fired over
Yeah.
it. You know, like uh, again, I think personally, like name him, get his face out there, and publicly shame him. Yeah, I am 100% about shame, but firing, like again, I haven't screamed the best things in traffic,
Yeah. Yeah.
but so those are some of just the latest things that are floating around out there in the whole social media world. Well, we are here tonight because The Last of Us Episode 3 just ended, and
Yes.
this is the aftermath of Joel's death and the attack on Jackson. So, we or go ahead and give me your just your first your raw reaction to it before we get kind of into the recap.
My raw reaction was it was a good dialogue episode, a lot of good conversations, a lot of great acting performances by the actors. Um, but my big gut reaction is similar to how Ellie was interrupted while she was crying and grieving by Dina. We, the audience, were robbed of a grief period. I felt like with this episode, I expected, and that's on me for expecting certain things, but I expected more of a fallout episode from the attack and Joel's death. And we kind of got that at the very beginning, and then it jumped ahead 3 months and shifted pace and storylines to me. And I felt surprised, I guess. It wasn't a bad episode to me, but I thought we'd get more of a grieving episode.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like it to especially with the way it opens up with,
Right.
you know, obviously, I mean, like you have to think like, oh, okay, like I really wish we would have gotten everybody's more raw emotions immediately when they would have come back into Jackson. But it's like as much as and then the jumping ahead 3 months, like I feel like you're kind of you're robbed of that. Like I agree
Yes.
with you. And then like you sit back and you're like, okay, I understand logistically why they do. I mean, like you start to think like, I mean, obviously this is not real life, but I'm sure by the time they rode back to Jackson, you know, she was on the horse with Jesse and Dina was in on the other horse and they're dragging Joel's. I'm sure she probably passed out from the pain because
Yeah.
she had been beaten or kicked or broken ribs, and they said I feel like lacerations of something on the inside. Dina was still drugged out of her mind. So like you probably in realistic terms, you probably wouldn't have gotten too much of them getting right, you know, to Jackson. You would have liked to have seen maybe everybody's reaction to again Joel's body arriving, but there was a lot going on also in Jackson at
Agreed.
that particular moment, and you don't know if much like the council meeting, if a lot of people again would have been very upset, but how upset would they have been at just another dead body
Yeah.
coming through that
Their
door?
worlds were just shattered. So it's like it was like bad timing, not as if not saying there's a good time
Sure,
for Joel to die, but in the
sure.
grand scheme of things, yes, he was just to the rest of the town. Obviously to Ellie, to Tommy, it probably hit harder, but to the rest of the town, and honestly, even Tommy included, it probably felt like to an extent just another body.
Yeah,
because
there's you're already like
yeah,
the tolerance of what
yeah,
you've been able to handle going on in that fight, and you don't want to be like one more thing. It's not that at all, but
yeah,
it's just you don't know at what point do people become numb and shut down, and it's just
yeah,
let's just the wheels of you know just of reality just keep churning. Just let's
yeah.
just get this, let's
Because
get
the
him.
town didn't just lose people, they lost people on their front doorstep. Like it wasn't like we sent out a hunting party and half of them got slaughtered. Like, no, no, no. They came into your house, broke
You're right.
into your walls, destroyed your town, and killed a bunch of you. So, yeah, Joel gets brought in, like you said. You're probably already like up to here with how much you can take. That, yeah, you're at that point, you're numb to it. And yes, that one probably does hit differently because it was raiders that were coming after them in people's minds. We know like it wasn't just raiders, but it probably does hit different for people in town because like, oh, he was killed by other humans and not yeah, not whatever walkers, but they don't know why. In their mind, it's just raiders.
Right, because Dina admits to she didn't tell anybody.
Yeah,
She held everything that she knew in until Ellie was out of the hospital and ready to hear it. So nobody really knew the they had seen his face.
yeah,
They but you don't know what Jesse wasn't there. Nobody had seen it.
yep,
Bella was there. I mean, Ellie was there, but she's incapacitated. She's not telling any like no one knows that you just show up with Joel being dead and you obviously something terrible happened. But what?
yeah,
Like did he fall down the hill and just hit his face all the way? You don't nobody knows. It's
yeah.
just okay,
And they
but
don't
we
find
do
out till
know.
after the fact. Because like
Right.
obviously at the town hall, they knew that he was attacked by a group of people. But again, as far as they know, it was just a rival militia group or raiders. Like they don't know it was a whole revenge plot. So
Because Dina doesn't even know it.
yeah, exactly.
Dina
Exactly.
doesn't, I don't, I think she was probably knocked out when Abby had started her story. So
Hmm.
she doesn't know it. Again, Ellie showed up late, so she just knows that this group of kids attacked Joel and stabbed him. She doesn't know. Nobody knows the story at all. And so, yeah, like I said, and I feel like part of it, the reason that they moved us so fast to 3 months later is you get the kind of the feeling like you were saying in the beginning is I think they wanted to kind of rob you of grief. So you were in the kind of same seat that Ellie was at
Yeah.
that moment. Is like she has been grieving, but she's been stuck in a hospital for 3 months, not being able to properly do anything about it. Just get out, apparently doing push-ups and ab
Bullshit.
crunches while she was in the hospital, as she told Jesse. Um, but yeah, I think you're kind of you the reason they move you on is you still kind of as the audience member still want justice.
Yeah.
Like time has moved on for everybody else and they're the rebuilding everything, but us as the audience members and Ellie, we didn't get a chance to move. We haven't moved on from it yet.
Yep.
So, I mean, like I was like, oh man, like there were so many things that you wanted to see his brother's reaction to it. You wanted to see like, but then when you realize how little information they were given, what would we have seen?
And that's what I thought. I was like, because I thought the same thing. And I thought, okay, so we see the brother grieve, even if it's the next day. We see Ellie, now that she's more awake, grieving, Dina grieving, just the town. But I didn't expect it to be a whole grieving episode. But yeah, I think they kind of were like, how much grieving can we see? Like, I think if Tommy had died, the town would be grieving more. Like, I know it's been 5 years.
Sure.
Joel was an important part, but Tommy was like the guy there. So I thought it was very Harold. It was very, it lined up perfectly because I just, when Ellie, was faking it to Gail and she got to the house and saw his clothes and started crying into the clothes, like I felt in that moment, her and the audience were all united.
Right.
And then when Dina came to the door and she had to like stop and wipe her face and then immediately pretend like she was okay, and then immediately after Dina kind of broke everything down, she had went into attack mode. I think we as the audience were still kind of grieving, but then like it quickly kind of moved on and we were like, "Oh, okay." So we're moving on, and I think like you said, I think the writers, the producers, everyone kind of did that on purpose. So we felt the same that Ellie did, that she's been kind of in and out of it for 3 months. Life has moved on. So now she's playing catch up in a sense. And that's kind of what we're doing without having the proper time to grieve.
Right. And you could tell there was when she was after her conversation with Gail, the look on her face as she was walking down the hall out of the hospital, like it shifted from back to being on him. Like you almost got me. You almost got me with the conversation because Gail really it was less of a conversation of how are you doing and more of a we still don't know what the fallout between you and Joel was.
Yeah.
And she knows Joel isn't a great guy because we still don't know why he killed Eugene.
Yeah.
We suspect, we
Yeah, we
wonder if
have
we're going to
we
be
have thoughts.
correct.
Yeah.
Right, we have thoughts. We think it will kind of relate to Ellie, which is I'll ask that question in a second, but like so Ellie very much just brushes by her with that, and it's you do get the sense of she knows, or she wanted to see how much Gail knew, but she wasn't willing to. She wasn't willing. Like she knows. So they had the conversation,
Yeah.
obviously. Like she's not even telling Gail because we will see that. Um, Ellie. I mean, spoiler alert. It is kind of known that we will see flashbacks to Joel and Ellie having a conversation of the one where she saw him on the porch with the guitar because at a certain point she has the guitar back. Like
Yeah.
and he had taken it from her and then she sees it with him and then it's back in her house. So obviously she met with him and had a discussion and that discussion will be about, we'll find out then that she knew or had an inkling or blah blah blah. So she wants to find out from Gail how much do you know? And she kind of gets like, you're not going to get me with that because I'm on a mission. Like, I don't have time. Like, whatever our problems were are now to a backseat of that I was robbed of stuff and now I'm going to go, as much as she says she's out for justice, she's not out for justice. Speaking of, what did you think? We're going to kind of fast forward here to the council meeting because they are going to take a vote on whether or not I didn't understand why 16 people needed to go. I thought that was odd choice, but I mean maybe that's in
Yeah.
the game I that I'm not aware of.
I don't
But
remember. I'll be honest. I forget a lot of the game. I like the main thing that stuck out to me was Joel's death, and I remember other things here and there, but I don't remember a lot of part two.
okay, well, so perfect. So they have the council meeting on whether or not Ellie has the right to take 15 other people, 16 other people with go track down these I forgot what the WLF stands
Well,
for.
well.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Western
Yeah.
Liberation Front, something.
Something, yeah, I think that might be it. To go track it down, but apparently as a community, they need to vote on it to see whether or not they can even spare the people because, oh, they're still in the process of rebuilding here. So, and is it worth sending out people for to take revenge on one guy for one guy?
Yeah.
So, what did you think, one, of that council meeting in general, and two, of the clearly uh, non-heartfelt letter that she wrote?
I thought it was smart for them to have a council meeting
Hmm.
because in this new world, when all you've got are the people in that community, you've got a virus, fungus, uh, out trying to kill you. They attacked your base recently, and you've got raiders who killed Joel out there. So it's understandable that they would want a council meeting to take that many people. There's also a part of me that's like, do you need council's approval to go off on a side quest?
Right.
No.
Well,
I agree
do
with you.
you if you're doing it on your own, clearly,
Right,
no.
exactly.
But if you're taking like a good percentage of the population,
Yeah, and I
maybe.
think that's where it was. Now I think 16 was a lot. I think at first I was like four, and I was like, no, if you're about to go into the belly of the beast, I said eight. Eight is where I was like, you get eight people, you can go. I can understand because an attack just happened 3 months ago and you're still rebuilding, why a lot of people would be like, yeah, no, like we're not gonna do this, 16 people while and we're still vulnerable.
Right.
I get that. Um, but I thought her letter was BS, and I think everyone kind of saw through it. Like obviously, uh, I think Tommy's wife alluded to it, or no, Gail alluded to how she could see through it, and I think everyone could because Ellie made herself, her personality known. She didn't hide her attitude or whatever from anyone. So you've got this firecracker
Yeah.
who is a firecracker every time you interact with her, who is suddenly like, this is not for me. This is for us. Like, yeah, I'm brushing you off immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I only know you as impulsive. And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, I am sitting and writing this letter.
Yeah. And I think, like we talked about, them kind of us not seeing the fallout and even wondering how the fallout would have been with the town because they had just experienced so much loss inside their hometown. I think that played a huge factor in why so many of the council and other people voted against it. Because again, they were vulnerable. They just got attacked at their safe place. The one place where you're supposed to be safe from all of the madness that's just outside the walls was brought into your safe place. It doesn't surprise me that
Yeah.
they
And you have to be like, what the one lady might have said it is just what you don't want to be mean, but like what makes his death so important that
yeah,
we have to go get vengeance. Like we're not out there. I mean, they are in a sense hunting for the infected, but not to I mean, like there was if you're going to send out 16 people for every one person that gets killed, then who are you
agreed.
sending out for the infected?
It's
Like,
personal to us because that's the character we've been watching or played the game
right,
as. But looking at it from the town's perspective, and again, they don't know. I was thinking about it. Dina technically knew that Joel had a connection with him because before they drugged her, before she passed out, they said, I think, like, when's the last time you saw the fireflies or something? And he said,
oh yeah, if you answer this
Colorado.
correctly, then we
Yeah.
won't kill her.
So
Yeah,
she knows that there was a connection, but she didn't tell anyone as far as we know.
right,
So as far as the town is concerned, he was killed by a random group of raiders that were passing through. That is what the town knows. So let's say there's another group of people out on patrol one day and raiders come through and kill them. They're going to send out 16 people to Seattle and
right.
do all that. Like, and I go back to I wonder what Tommy knows because I mean Dina and Ellie did eventually go to Tommy and give him the information, some of the information. So they knew that they were going after a militia group in Seattle, I think.
Right.
But again, they don't know that it was a personal vendetta. So
And it was personal to them because you can tell the only three that probably voted in favor were Maria, Tommy, and Jesse.
I think that's what they want us to think.
No,
I think through conversation, flashbacks, whatever, we might find out
that's
that
true. But I mean,
there
like
was a
right now, we're
random
we're led to
person.
believe that really the only people that really feel a need to avenge him are the people personally connected to him.
Correct. Exactly.
So, I mean, and apparently Seth.
Yeah. So the meeting went the way I expected it to go, and the Seth thing was in, not funny, but like obviously he had his unkind words towards Ellie and Dina, so you'd think he was the last person you expect to do that. And to be fair, he did apologize, but I think it was more than I think to him it wasn't I owe them. I think he felt like there probably were some people in the town felt that if you know you someone comes into your house and then kicks your dog and you don't do anything about it, well, they're gonna come back again. And he probably felt that. I mean, he obviously felt that way, and there are probably other people that did too. I thought his speech got people more willing to take up arms than Ellie's did.
Sure, yeah. And it just goes to show you that, like, by no means am I excusing somebody being a bigot, but that a lot of times it's much more complicated than just black and white, that he could there are people that are bigots that still love their children, like, and I know that sounds weird to say, but I mean it's we're complex beings. We're not just, there are some people that are just, like, bigots and they just cut their kids off, but I think Seth is one of those where I think he still sees a kid, that's, and I think, yeah, he is obviously a bigot because what came out when he was drunk, you don't just become a bigot with some alcohol. It's there. But I think it's like he still sees these two kids like, I can still care for them. I like the whole I don't approve of what they're doing, but I think he kind of and to give credit to the writers, that he kind of embodies that. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just a simple, like, bad man bigot. It's he obviously is a bigot, but he still cares for his community. Like, and so, him getting the supplies and giving her the gun and trying to get back into her graces. And Dina seems much more willing. But I mean, like, Ellie's always been a brick wall as far as, again, like we discussed, impulsive and, doesn't have the best characteristics. And, Tommy and Gail discuss that. Is that
Yeah.
nurture nature? Like, she's been around Joel for a while, and their entire relationship is built off of violence, I mean,
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. A lot of these people in the community have probably been there for years and had they probably found this community pretty quickly. Whereas if Ellie is 19 now, they've been in Wyoming for 5 years. That means the majority of her life was spent in survival mode. Like
right.
that is until the last 5 years, survival mode, kill or be killed
Yes.
is all she knows. So
Hmm.
then dropping that type of mindset into this town, it probably it didn't help. Like it was
No.
tough for her, especially when you had an enabler, Joel, who was with you
Right.
for a good portion of that. And again, not that she had a choice, but you drop that type of person into a quiet, safer environment. Like obviously the whole town will be on edge because there's a whole apocalypse happening just outside the gate. But
Right.
a lot of these people have spent a lot more time there or grew up and were born into it, where Ellie, most of her life has been the complete opposite. Most of her life was spent on the other side of that wall.
Exactly. Right. And yeah, I mean, just again, to her, like, I don't want to say like she didn't have a healthy relationship with Joel, but a lot of it was built on violence. Like,
Yeah,
she killed to save him, he's killed to save her. Like, it's a very violent coexistence with the two of them. So it's
yeah,
like she's not going to have the best coping mechanisms with everything going
for
on.
sure.
But in talking about children and the society that they grow up, we did get a small, small peek at the Seraphites, I believe was the closed caption at least said that they were Seraphites.
Yes.
They have a whole prophet story going on, and I guess they are, from my understanding, again, I'm not, they're, I guess they're very peaceful people, or maybe they're not. Because they do cut themselves
They
to.
cut themselves, they shave their heads. Obviously, they're not complete pacifists because they all carry around hammers. Bunch of good
It's true.
idiot them. But
They were escaping a war, is what they said, though.
yeah, they were escaping a war. So, you know, they're not pacifists per se, but they also looks like they're not trying to constantly fight. It just sucks that they were in wolf territory.
Yeah, and what the big, I guess their biggest rival sounds wild, but I mean biggest enemy, adversary is the Western Liberation Front, this WLF.
Yeah.
Uh, and you get a peek of how mili military oriented they are. They are that is a very different, Seattle is very different than Jackson. Jackson
Yes.
is you have, right now we've seen three different communities in this. We've seen, yeah, obviously, well, I should say four. I mean, I'm sure there's just people out there just trying to survive on their own, like Joel and Ellie were for a while. Um, or maybe there's even five because you got fireflies,
You
and
had
then
Fireflies, you had the group in Boston where we first met Joel, all those people and the regime they were living under. You've got the wolves, you've got, well, the cult where Ellie was at the end of the first season.
were those Seraphites?
I was trying to remember.
Yeah,
I was trying my hardest to remember. Those were cannibals. I know that,
sure.
but I don't know what group they what they align with. Like there's a lot of different factions, and
Right,
what I think we're going to find out later on is that's how the wolves came to be. Jeffrey Wright's character kind of saw all of these different splinter cells of survivors and was just like, what if we were all under one banner? How he got them all under one banner, I don't remember, but whatever he's doing, whether it's just or unjust, looks like it's working. Like you've got mobile tanks, you've got people well armed with body armor on, they look organized. You had Falcon up in the tower making sure the path was clear. Like they know what they're doing and they're very organized, very similar to Jackson, but Jackson looks like they are trying to be on guard but live their life the most normal way they
right.
can. And the Wolves up in Seattle, like, no, this is how it is. And so we're going to be the biggest bully on the block. So,
Right, which it kind of does give you. I mean, I know a lot of people are not wanting to sympathize with Abby at all. Like there's some people
right.
that just dug in. Like I've seen a few of those tweets that were like, "Girl, I do not care about you nor your dad. What happens? I
Right.
will hate
You
you
shouldn't have
till the
grabbed the
end."
scalpel.
Right. Like and I that's that's fine. I understand the game that
Yeah.
at one point you play her, so then that they actually kind of force you to sympathize with her. But
Yeah.
like in this TV show, I don't know how much of that we'll get. Maybe we're gonna get some
You
things
might
that'll
get an
make you
episode, but I don't know.
right, but you start to see the situation in which she has been existing, which is just military oriented.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between the Joel and Ellie who were literally just trying to survive and found a community and tried to move on with their life the best they could, and people who are like completely embedded in a totalitarian existence and military. And so yeah, you're starting to see how all of these different people are handling survival. Like what do they glean to during during this time of just trying to survive?
Yeah.
Do they glean to a profit? Do they glean to rigid military control? Do they try to make, like you said in Jackson, just go back to as much normal as they can? Like what is everybody doing?
It's an interesting almost case study, you could say, to how different
Right.
groups and people react to the environment they're put in. But I also wonder, like, you see the pros and cons to both. Like, yeah, you want the Jackson type of life if you had to choose one, but that worked for a time. But obviously, as you tried to grow your community, Joel talked about how they're running out of space and they couldn't keep taking in survivors. You also have the infected that are evolving. Um,
Right,
Now they're stalking. Like there's a chance they could stalk their way right into Jackson, and not just a big horde, but they might like the one that was creeping on Ellie and like, well, technically beat Ellie. She's immune. Had it been
right.
literally anybody else, they were done for. And then as they were digging their pipes, trying to, expand their territory, they woke up the horde. Well, and you look at Seattle and they're, in a city, less the woods, but maybe you start looking at them and saying, well, maybe they got it figured out. Maybe that strict militaristic regime is the way to go about it. But I thought it was the little bit that we saw of them, it was a good introduction to a different group of survivors.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, especially now, just the kind of the juxtapose, I mean, of all three of them, like
Yeah.
the prophets who are traveling almost nomadically, and you've got the military one, then you've got Jackson. Like we saw how all of them are dealing with this and this. Now, did you watch any of the preview for next week,
I
or at
did
least the
not.
few?
I did not. I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this one go. I didn't see
Okay.
it. I don't know if it showed it, but I assume we get Jeffrey Wright in the next episode.
The thing is, when they show that, I don't ever know if they're just showing you like clips
It's
for
true.
the
They say
entire
coming soon.
season.
They don't say next week.
Right. Yeah, because I would actually have to go back and watch last week's and see how what they showed for this one. Um, no, but there is an interesting scene in it. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you do it because apparently there is going to be a scene where I believe the infected come after Dina and Ellie. And at one point, I mean, this is not a spoiler alert because Dina pulls a gun on she turns the gun on Ellie. And from my understand from what I am my prediction is that I guess during this fight she sees Ellie get bit
Yeah.
and is under these, and because Ellie, no one knows.
Yeah. And
Like
the,
it's
the
very
rules
even
are
clear
if you
that,
get bit, you
right,
get shot.
Gail doesn't know that. I think it's going to it'll be this was going to be my question when I said I have a question we'll come back to later is, will Jackson, anybody in the community, in because they are now away from Jack, they are very far away from Jackson. Does that information about her come out? Do they go back? Does that does Gail find out that, maybe that's why Eugene got killed? Like, do you think anybody in Jackson outside of Dina, because Dina is with her, anybody inside of Jackson will discover that Ellie is immune?
Yes, but my hot take is we probably won't see that information revealed to the town until the end of this season. I think that's a season three problem. I think they want the rest of this season to be revenge focused. Obviously, we're going to get a Eugene episode, which brings us back to Jackson, but
And what he knew.
what he knew, what led to him getting executed,
Sure.
essentially, from Joel, what he knew or what he did, um, they might. I think it'd be again. I don't remember part two of the game. I don't remember most of it, so I'm. This is me kind of flying blind. I think they will. I think it adds an interesting wrinkle because obviously that adds context to Joel massacring the Fireflies. But you have to wonder if the people in the town find out she's immune. Like, I'm not saying they would like maybe we should try perform surgery on her, but you would have to think people would feel some type of way. But you start to think what feelings would they feel? Would they feel jealousy? Would they? Because even people in Jackson don't necessarily know about everything with the Fireflies. Like they don't even know Wolf exists, and that's a whole military up in the West. So if Ellie went in and said, "I'm immune," would the people of the town like what would that do for their lives? I guess
Sure.
is my main thing. Like what would that do for them finding out that information? Would there be a few people that would maybe start to put the dots together? Maybe, but I think for majority of the town, they'd be like, "Oh, that's crazy. Is there any way we could take some of her blood and maybe get a cure?" And then there'd be the conversation, that'd be the end of it. Like I
Right.
don't feel like a lot of people in the town would, I'm not saying not care, but I don't think it would affect their lives.
Sure. I think the only person that's really kind of maybe gung ho on find like she just seems hell bent determined to find out about all of it and the secrets about all of them is Gail
Oh yeah,
because it personally affected her. So
100%.
she's the one that's got the most at stake here to find out really kind of what happened and how that affects her. Like you shot my husband. Like again, this is just a prediction, a theory, but like you shot my husband because he knew that your daughter
He was an
was immune.
ex-Firefly, so he probably still had some connections. So if there was anyone in the town that had the best chance of finding out what Joel did and why, it would be Eugene, which I did tell Sarah right before we started the episode, because one thing that shows do that just gets me every time is whenever there's some big death or revelation that happens, the next episode starts and it's always a flashback episode of the main character or the villain or something. And I'm just like, no, we just watched XYZ happen. I need to know what
You're
happens.
right.
I literally turned to Sarah and I was like, if they make this episode the Eugene episode, I will lose my mind. I was very glad they didn't because I thought with all the TV I've watched, I was like, it's gonna be a flashback episode. They are not even gonna give us the satisfaction of the fallout. They're gonna give us like the 90% of the runtime is gonna be Eugene's episode, and then the final like 5 minutes is gonna flash back to the present. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen.
From my understanding, I think the rumor is that it's either supposed to be five or six, but
But we get
that's
Joel back, and that'll
yeah,
probably also maybe be the porch conversation.
right. Yeah, there's a few, yeah, and it would make sense to have it. So if four, let's say they get attacked, Dina finds out that she's immune, it might make sense. Then we might have the Eugene like that.
Yeah.
But that's like but then it could also be six. So we
Yeah.
don't know what happens between again, I'm kind of interested in that how that story unfolds because like that's I those things that we as the audience know and I always like those revelations
Yeah, well, and they
when
are forcing Gale onto us a lot.
yes,
Like, I mean, I think Catherine O'Hara is a great actor, but she was a character that wasn't in the game. So they have
right,
created this character. And yes, they're using her to move the story forward and
sure,
have conversations that we wouldn't have otherwise.
right.
So I realize why her character exists, but the fact that that character isn't just a character, it's a character that was married to a guy who's getting a whole episode, like, and Gail happens to also be the one trying to figure out what went down. Like, yeah, I'm very interested to
Yeah.
see that whole story arc.
Oh yeah. I think that's like I said, I think that's going to be kind of and how that affect like whether or not will they even be in Jackson for when it's discovered. That's who knows. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. But so yes, so episode 3 where post-mortem on Joel, what grade would you give this episode? I think I have an idea of what you're gonna do, but I'm gonna see if I'm right.
I think I'm going to give it a B plus.
Oh,
I think maybe a B minus. Not an A to me, not
no.
enough happened. Again, the story moved forward,
Right.
but I just and I again I understand and appreciate you wanting us to feel the same as Ellie, but the way
Right.
I felt the story should have flowed, it didn't to me. I thought they were really good conversations, but to me, I give it a B plus, B minus.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna be in the B to about C plus area,
Yeah,
like floating around. Yeah, because I have to agree with you. I think B minus is fair because I mean, like
yeah.
you did have like it was nice to see the country, them traveling. It was beautiful, but I did we need it? I don't know. I mean, is did it serve a purpose that I'm unaware of? Possibly. I mean, I maybe watching it again, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is meant
A lot
to
of screen time and dead air that could have been spent giving more depth to the characters or the story, and it was just, look at this backdrop.
right,
Look at this backdrop. And it was like, okay. So yeah, I
right,
say B minus. I don't want to say C. I could justify if someone gave it a C plus, if you gave it a C plus, I wouldn't argue.
right.
I give it, yeah, I think B minus is good because it
I
wasn't
think
a bad episode, but I feel like we were missing some of the fallout, and I just feel like there were more stories that could have been told in the time that we got of not a whole lot happening.
right. I mean, we do like yeah, like a lot of on horsey time that I would have loved to see either more of Seattle, like what goes on in
Yeah.
Seattle. Um, who attacked the Seraphites? Why? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get all that. Excuse me. I'm sure we're gonna get all that, but to have a whole bunch of just like, here's a mountain, like it's like, okay,
Yeah. Well,
like I
and
get
I
it.
mean, there's the quite like you said with the Seraphites. Sarah was like, "Well, who killed them?" And I was like, "Well, it's the wolves." But then I was like, "Well, Abby made this whole speech about how their leader said not to kill an unarmed
Right.
person, and they also made the point that the one bald guy, well, the one that was talking the most, was running away. Like they made a point to add that dialogue,
Right.
and they had their hammers, sure, but like, are you really going to tell me that
A little
that
girl.
was enough justification to just slaughter them?
Just
So
a
was it wolves?
child.
A child? Like, was it the
Right.
wolves who have this rule, or
Right.
was it someone else?
Someone else. Which I mean, again, we'll see it. It's just I felt like the travel time could have been better spent
Agreed.
telling us something else. Because again,
Yeah.
is there only episodes? How many episodes are we doing?
We have, mm, no, let's find out. I had it pulled up for this very reason. Okay, okay, there we go. All right, all right, all right. Episode season two, we have seven.
Seven.
7 episodes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
even worse. Um, yeah, so I really didn't need all that time. I mean, again, maybe I'll find out something. Maybe I'll hear from the director, the writers, that this is what the purpose of that would be, and maybe I'll see it in another light. But right now, if that's how much we got, I need a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're out there and you know what the purpose was and I'm missing it, how did Joel's death hit you? How do you feel about, you know, we lose Joel and we're instantly now thrown into again, the whole point of the show was that it was never supposed to be just about those two, that it was supposed to be a bigger picture about, like the survival of all of this. I will say, even the beginning opening where they no longer had the two people standing in the vine, the vines, that it was just her, like that was pretty impactful. But yeah, just, yeah, let us know if you think, I mean, without saying like, well, this is what happens in the game. That's easy to do. I mean, like I can
Right.
look that up, but I mean, like, is there anything in this that they didn't do in the game and that like you're like, okay, don't know what this is all about?
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, they this attack on Jackson didn't happen in the same chronology in the game that it did on the show. So to have put his death and that attack at the same time was a choice because that kind of then helped the, like when we discussed the council meeting and everybody had
Yeah,
died and stuff like that. So I don't know. But I think, yeah, like I said, it was an okay episode. It's just as hard as number two was and how emotional and just how charged that was and so tense and so suffocating because some of us knew what was happening and we could see where it was going. Put the drama like on a 10 or 11. And so it's
yeah,
like you bring this one down and it's like you almost kind of like, no, let's get to it. Let's start cracking skulls.
yeah. That's what Ellie wanted to do. She was like,
Right.
"You
Flipping
lost
tables
three
and stuff.
months. Like, girl, you wouldn't have survived," which is funny. It just shows how much she's led by impulse because you would think someone who spent most of their life out in the wild trying to survive would have had a better plan. Like when Dina came to her door, it was like overpacked, didn't have a real route,
Right.
didn't have a real plan. Like,
Yeah. She poked
Ellie,
all the holes in
you
her,
would have
like,
lasted like a week, maybe. You would have lasted three
right.
days. And I
Like you
said,
got to have a better plan than just rage
yeah,
to get you there. And I think that's kind of why you have Dina with her is she's the almost the brains behind
right.
the production there. So yeah. So yeah, good episode overall. I mean, we do see like hints of where it's kind of going, what things might be brought up, but still kind of left you wanting more at the beginning, at the end,
Yeah.
sometimes in the middle. So yeah, I mean, pretty decent. I mean, if we only have seven, then I definitely look forward to uh more infection fighting. I mean, because we gotta have some fighting again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess, we'll just like, subscribe, let us know what you think. We post clips on it. I know you get a lot of traction sometimes on TikTok on the
Yes.
tiny, tiny clips that we post, and we will see you all next week for when we discuss episode 4. And we're trying to decide what we're going to do about Andor because of how fast they're dropping
Yeah.
episodes, and it's kind of tough to. Yeah, we got to figure out something. It
We
might be
gotta
one of those
figure it
things
out
where,
because I'm trying to, yeah, I didn't even want to bring it up because I was definitely like trying to,
right, we got to figure it. Like, we don't know if we're just going to do like something like maybe in the half, midway, and then at the very end, but just kind of they're dumping a whole bunch of them on us a lot. So we're trying to figure out how to watch them all
right.
and assess them. So if you're interested in Andor, stick around. We probably will have something later on and maybe the next week or two about just our thoughts on it. So until then, we'll see you all later. Bye.